Chi rompe il ghiaccio, io?
No, I do. Ma aspettiamo un attimo che entrino. We'll wait.
Ok.
Stanno entrando, chiudi il video per fax. Pier, il video.
Alberto, dici tu due parole appena inizia?
No,
Ok.
faccio io.
Facciamo fare per fax.
Abbiamo già ricevuto un ciao a tutti. Somebody already said hi everybody. E anche dall'estero. Bastia.
Io direi che possiamo partire.
Va bene. Dear fellow pilot friends, ACAO, Centro, Volo, Nord-Est, and Postumia welcome you to this evening. My name is Pier Fassina. I'm a glider pilot from the Enemonso Gliding Center in the northeast side of Italy. I'm very glad to have organized this event about Slovenia and Croatia wet flying. As you may have seen from the last flights in recent months, our Slovenian friend and of the Aeroclub Postumia made a fantastic flight. For this reason, we asked them for a collaboration in order to share everything they learned about. Bernard, Sandy, and Luca kindly agreed to introduce us to this particular phenomenon in this particular territory, so we can understand all the mechanisms in order to replicate these flights. During the organization of this evening, I had the opportunity to speak with several top Italian pilots, and I must say that all of them show a lot of interest in this area, which remains a bit little known for us Italians. I'm happy to start this interesting evening and to introduce our friend Aldo Cernezzi, who will be our moderator tonight. I also want to remember to all of you that on 21 of February, we have arranged a fantastic webinar with my friend Eric Reynolds, the inventor of the solar glider Sunseek 2. Eric also is with us tonight because he told me it's very interesting about wet flying in Slovenia. So remember, 21 of February at 21 Italian time, same link. I want also to thanks to all my friends who helped me to set up this event. They are Alessandro Busco, Andrea Venturini, Viviano Ongaro, Davide Cescato, Manuele Molinari, Margherita Quaderni, Alberto Sironi, Jean-Marie Clement, and of course, the moderator of this webinar, Aldo Cernezzi. Let's begin, my friend. Thank you. Aldo.
Hi, everybody. Ciao, buonasera a tutti. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Centro, Volo Vela, Nord-Est, Charlie Victor, November Echo, Enemonso, a great club with a lot of great initiatives. During the pandemic, we spent many evenings watching and participating in seminars organized by the Charlie Victor November Echo Club. A fantastic, young, small, but very active club. in Italy, in the northeastern part of Italy. Our panelists tonight are Sandy Kavalic, I hope I say it correctly, and Bernard Dobre. Bernard Dobre is very young. He's 21 years old, a 21 anni, Bernard. He has about 800 gliding hours, and he's a student in mechanical engineering. While about Sandy, Sandy Kavalic is 36 years old, flies in the Aeroclub of Postumia, and works as a risk manager. Lavora nella gestione del rischio, ha 36 anni. His passion is big data analysis, and he's using his knowledge, passion, and skills also for the analysis in cross-country and in competition flying. Sandy is practicing the soaring sport already for 10 years and has international and national competition gliding experience, more than 1,000 flight hours. And yes, his longest flight up today was from Namibia, Kiripoti. But he loves alpine flying and wave flying mostly. He is one of the partners in the ownership of the new Duo Discus equipped with FES, front electric sustainer, together with Luka Znidarsic, who's also taking part in this meeting tonight. And we all know Luka Znidarsic as the maker, producer of the FES system, which is a huge success for.
Maybe I ask Luca, Sandy, and Bernard to turn on the video.
Yeah, so we can see them. Sandy, Bernard, and Luca, please turn on the video. Sandy mentions the mentorship by Bastian Rudolf, another Slovenian pilot. And they made a 600-kilometer flight on the coast before the incredible 1,300-kilometer flight performed by Luka Znidarsic with Bernard Dobre. I think I said too many things in Italian, just a few words. I due piloti hanno uno 21 anni, Bernard, e 36 Sandy. Il loro mentore è stato Bastian Rudolf e Sandy è un comproprietario del Duodiscus FES, il primo esemplare equipaggiato con FES, insieme a Luka Znidarsic, che ne è anche l'installatore, il produttore del sistema di motorizzazione. Per quanto mi riguarda ho finito. I think I have finished with my introduction of the panelists tonight. I hope everybody enjoys tonight's presentation by Sandy Kavalic and Bernard Dobre. Thanks. Who's starting? We have a few, the agenda of the evening is made of 6 parts. We will also speak about oxygen management, which is extremely important for safety in high altitude flying. We will go into details of the location, presentation of the planning, and then we will, our panelists will describe the emotions and the practical parts of the flight. So it's up to you. Thank you.
Una nota tecnica giusto per le domande, se come al solito questo è un webinar, quindi domande le potete fare attraverso il modulo domande e risposte, che si chiama anche question and answer per le versioni in inglese, in modo tale che tutti i panelist possano vederle e poi vi risponderanno probabilmente a voce, in parte forse anche per iscritto. Quindi domande non attraverso la chat, ma attraverso il modulo question and answer, Aldo.
Yeah, a reminder by Alberto that this is a webinar. So the panelists are leading the event and the public, the participants may chat between each other or send hello on the chat line. But if you want to ask questions, there is a special button probably at the lower part of your screen in the Zoom presentation, and that is called in Italian domande e risposte, or if you have the English version, Q&A, questions and answers. So you may write your question, potete scrivere la vostra domanda in italiano o in inglese, in English or Italian. I will keep an eye on it, and I will generally keep the questions for the end of the presentation, but if I find it necessary, I will share it with our panelists. Thank you. What is FES was the first question. It's a front electric sustainer, the electric motor mounted in the nose cone of many gliders today and powered by batteries in the fuselage, which allows for sustainer flight, sustained flight, not self-launching, except on very small gliders. Now, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you, Aldo, Alberto, Pierre. Nice hello to everyone. I propose that we start, but I think you should first stop sharing that I can share the presentation.
Can you say again what you were suggesting?
You have to start
Pierfax, chiudi la condivisione della copertina. Okay, now you can share.
Okay, thank you. So again, nice hello to everyone. So today presentation hopefully you see it. Will be on the wave flying from Postumia. The topic I think would be quite interesting. It's a long presentation, so be comfort in your seat. Take some water for drinking, and hopefully you will be not bored by this presentation. So the agenda for today, we will start with the introduction and presentation of the area, the first flights and explorations. We will go then to more technical part, meteorological conditions for waves in Slovenia and Croatia. This is something really important for you to identify the good conditions for wave flying in this region. We will touch a little bit about the specifics and maybe also the why these flights are quite technical and quite demanding and challenging. We'll go a little bit to the soaring tactics, and a little bit we will present you the tips that are helping us to do these flights. And then he will have some discussions. He will have let's say a pause here for a discussion, and then Bernard will take over more relaxed part of today's presentations. So what equipment was used, the preparation, and also we have a host, Jean-Marie, will present the specifics of DS and oxygen, because it's really important to be really to know the specific and be really prepared for such flights. Then Bernard will also present you what we are thinking about the future possibilities and the potential we have here for long cross-country flights, and we present you this amazing flight of 1300 Ks. So let's go to the presentation of the area. How everything started. You have to know that I'm driving every day from coast of Slovenia to Ljubljana. It's a center part of Slovenia, so I'm every day going by this region. And these are the photos that were taken from, if you write in Google search lenticularis cloud and Velebit area in Croatia, you will get these photos. And it's quite amazing wave, and we were observing it for, let's say, some 20, some 10 years. And this is our inspiration, and we were really keen to try these waves. So that was a lot of talking in our club, how to tackle this challenge, and we do a lot of analysis. I have some more pictures, and what was the main challenge here, and what is the main challenge in this part of the wave? And it's the challenging terrain. So I took a map from ACAO Cloud, and I turned on the Skyways layer, and you can see a lot of this area where we are flying mostly. So is this part in Italia, and you know the Austrian part and valley, and you have a lot of skyways here. But if you look at the Croatian coast and down to the south, you can see that there are not so many paths. There are some here at Rijeka. These are some paragliders, and some here in Buzet, Tučka. This is the part, but there are not many flights. And mainly because the terrain here is quite challenging. This is the karst terrain. There are not so many outlanding possibilities. And also because, let's say, you have to know the area and also some conditions that then Bernard will present. But what was let's say the triggering point on the changing part of, and why we started now with these long flights? I think is 2 or 3 things. The first one is we equipped all the gliders with transponders. We started to use the flight plans and started to quite nicely collaborate with the flight controllers. And we do all the analysis and also the prediction models. And I'm talking about the sky side. It's really amazing. So this was the pivoting point why we are now starting to more and more intensively explore this area. But I have to start at the beginning. And in 2003, Matija Kodrić is a local pilot, used this wave to set a national height record of 7,004 meters. And when I picked the photos from that time, I was amazed how similar the conditions were. If you, and Bernard will present some pictures, and also from my flight with Boštjan, we have quite same conditions. So it's really amazing. And this is really important, and it's saying and telling us that these conditions are predictable, and this is important. Nevertheless, Luca tried last year and set the national record at 7,600 meters, and tried not just going high, but also in let's say in some cross country to south direction. But you have to know that this area is not just nice for the wave flying. Many years ago and many times, Aleš Maraš performed thermal flights of 600 and more kilometers with Nimbus 3. So in these thermal flights of the summer are really something nice and beautiful. And there are a lot of many flights from Bosnia and Livno and Croatia seen. From Boštjan and other amazing pilots. On the wave, I have to point out one first, let's say, inspirational cross-country flight from Klaus Solman. It was 514 kilometers. He did the first exploration here. And then me and Boštjan, 600 kilometers, and Bernard and Luca, this amazing flight. On this picture, because it's so nice comparison of the two flights, I would like to point out one thing. This I try to present the direction of the flight. So this is the direction of the nose of the sailplane, and you can see quite different angle because the wind speed difference was here. Me and Boštjan had 130 to 140 km/h, and Luca and Bernard more around 80, 90. So this is also the difference. And in these flights, this flying direction also affects the cross-country speed and the kilometers. Okay, so a little bit about our airfield. It's Aeroclub Postumia. Here is the link. You can have a look. We have a quite nice web page. It's a small airfield, and this is the photo from the flight, because I wanted to point out here how cold it was. In this cold weather, the inversion we have is something that it's a prerequisite for these wave conditions. And you can see the canopy of the duodiscus. It's covered in ice. When we took it out of the trailer, it just freezed. And yeah, it's a 750 meters long runway. It's grass. It's quite nice airfield. We have quite nice restaurant. If you go to Croatia, you have to stop. And there is quite nice people and have quite nice flying activity here. So it's a nice airfield and nice club. So a little bit more in detail of the region here and the wave that we have. I wanted to stress out these four wave regions, and you have to know that Postumia airfield is here at the beginning, but I'll present it more detail later on. So this is the first region, just that you can imagine, and you get familiar with the region when Bernard also will present the flight. Here is the Ilirska Bistrica and Risnjak region. This is the first strong wave. Then you have a little bit of a transition to Velebit, and here you have this wave is one of the strongest one, also because reach is more defined, and because of the quite nice slope and conditions here. And then we have two possibilities. One is more to the Makarska and Sin. This is one way to go, and one other possibility that we have when transitioning from the Velebit wave, it's more this Dinara-Livno region. So these are the both possibilities, and you will see later on the pictures. It's quite nicely marked, and you can decide whatever you want to do and wherever you want to fly to. So what's important here? It's the transitioning levels. Let's say, and I have to do the disclaimer here. We are just at the beginning of the exploration of this area, so there will be more flights for sure, and there will be more information later on. But for now, we think that the best way to transition from these two waves is above 4,000 meters, and transitioning from Velebit to Dinara. Here is the Knin. It's better to be a little bit higher. Let's say 5,500 on a Velebit to this direction and back. I want to stress out here that we have some really important airfields here that can be used as a landing points and are close to these transitions. So one is Zadar and Sin on this part, maybe split a little bit, maybe too far away. But if you go to see Makarska, you have also scene and split possibilities. Why are these points good and good to know? And because when we are transitioning on Velebit, this is the strongest wave, we have the nice possibilities to land here. And for some that are sailing in Croatia, and I sailed a lot with a sailing boat there, I know that there are quite rough conditions when Bora is blowing in this part, but it gets better and better when you go to the south, and Zadar, Split, it's a little bit better. So if we don't have this strong wind of 140 km/h, it's landable, and also the direction of the airfield is quite nice to the wind. Nevertheless,
Sandy, this is Aldo.
Sorry?
Are these international airports?
Yes, they are.
Traffic. Thank you.
Yes, they are. But I have to stress out that we are also exploring some outfields, but I will not present them yet because we have to do our homework. And when we'll do our homework, for sure, there will be in some databases on Streckenflug and elsewhere. So yeah, these are these important points. There were a lot of discussion what kind of waves are here, and also Jean-Marie presented us that most probably it's hydraulic jump, but we have to do some flights and some research to confirm. We'll see. The time will say what conditions are. Maybe there are more conditions and more kind of wave. But for sure, SkySight is predicting them really well. And also, you saw the picture at the start. So the lenticular clouds are really amazing. And that's important for us. So I will go more in details of meteorological conditions, and it's a kind of preparation that we have, and what we are looking and what we are searching for this wave flights and the conditions we have. I took a picture from Marko Korošec. He's a quite nice storm chaser, nice guy. And this picture was, it says this picture is pointing that maybe there is a hydraulic jump, because we have quite nice laminar air here, and then you will see a lot of waving from one point on. What I want to stress out is, because of the cover here, there is a lot of cold air, and this cold air is makes the condition and the inversion for the waving. But you have to know that there is quite severe turbulence below 600 meters above ground. So this is something to be aware of, and this is the tricky part or challenging part in this area. So what we are looking for? We are looking for the anticyclone in central part of Europe, but even better is if we have a cyclone on the Greek region, or let's say in this South Balkan region. It's even better. And when we have this anticyclone, we have quite nice and predictable wind that is lasting from 2 to 3 days, 4 maybe. And when this anticyclone is progressing, it's getting better, and then it's no wave anymore, because the wind goes changes the direction too much. And what is nice, sorry.
E ogni quanto si presenta questa condizione? È una condizione frequente? o è molto rara?
So Alberto asked if this is something that is predictable and the frequency is high, or it's more or is less frequent. It's quite frequent in the winter. Let's say 1 to 2 times per month. It could be that we have these conditions, but it's not so much predictable as other waving sites, known sites around the world.
So the frequencies is similar to the north wind in the Alps, more or less.
Yes, and this is really good that you pointed out, Alberto, because when we are our gliding community in Slovenia, where we have the channel and we start talking, and the dilemma is if we go on the wave or if we go to or Maribor on the north wind slope soaring. And when this wave when we have the conditions for the wave, we have also many times the conditions for the north wind.
Okay, thank you.
And let's try to remember this conversation with Alberto, because Bernard will present some daring flying ideas for cross-country flights later on. So the source is, of course, SkySight. It's amazing how precise it is. But we have also quite nice local national weather agency that is preparing all the prognosis. I put both the links here, and we have special site dedicated to flying, and also special to soaring. And what is important here is the measured vertical sounding. And why this is important? Because before we go on the wave flying, and we are relying on the prognosis from SkySight, you have to check the sounding. So this is really important, that you check that the vertical profile of the wind is similar, and also the temperature profile is similar as in a prediction model. If you check that, you have more chances, and the reliability of the prognosis and the model is really high. So this is first thing in the morning to do, is check if the measured sounding is similar or the same as in the prognosis, and this confirms that the prognosis it's correct. Otherwise, I can point out an experience I had with Luca when we were flying in Autobahn. We have for 180 degrees of phase, the whole wave was shifted because the wind strength was quite different as in the prognosis. But local guys know there in Autobahn that this is the case, and the prediction models are exaggerating with the wind. So that also they told us, and we were flying opposite as a SkySight was telling us to fly. So it was, let's say, 300 meters or 400 meters of difference in a wavelength. Okay, so what was really interesting about the two flights was the nice condition we have at the start. So at the airfield Postojna, there was almost no wind at the ground. And this is something also we are looking, because if there is too much wind, it's too risky and it's too turbulent. So we are deciding upon also what wind is blowing on the Postojna airfield. And this is the profile of the wind, and you can see that it's quite quickly picking up with the height, but at the ground it was like a little breeze, not so much strong wind. So the takeoff was really easy, nice, no bumping, no turbulence. But the conditions I took from Sen, so this is the region to Velebit and later on. here is known that the wind is quite strong. And this is also pointing out that the wave conditions here are better than in Postojna. So it's a little bit hard to start in Postojna. You have to have quite high air tow. We are towing up to 1,200, maybe also to 2,000 meters sometimes. I think the flight of Luca and Bernard was had a quite high starting point. But it's a nice towing. It's nothing turbulent or to be scared of. And why I'm pointing this out, because you can see here on the picture, the sea is sprinkling. So you have a lot of moisture in the air, and this is because the Bora wind is gusty here. So there is a lot of gusts, and it's picking up the water. So whoever sailed here in Bora knows what I'm talking about, and that's why it's quite difficult to land on the islands. There are some airfields, but I would not advise to go there. And this is also something important, to be really careful not to be blown behind the wave. So this is the picture to the south, and you have to stay on the front side of the wave. So inversion. I started with an inversion in Postojna, and you can see it was not so strong. Then if we go to the south, it's getting stronger and more defined. And in Triban, it was quite strong. So why I'm pointing this out? It's also because I did the let's say the profile of the wave. So from here to here, and you can see at Postojna it was just 0.7 meter per second. And more you go to the south, more the wind was picking up, more the vertical sounding or the profile of the temperature was defined, the more the strength of the wave. So this is also Aidovština. This is really important because we have two starting points. One is from Postojna to the south, but we have quite nice position also a little bit to the north. Maybe it's 15 kilometers to the north. It's Aidovština. And here sometimes we have more or better conditions because the slope is more defined, and also the cold air that is coming, and the inversion is a little bit better. So this is also a starting point. So me and Boštjan for the 600 flight started from, we were air towed to the Aidovština to the north, and then this was our starting point. Luca and Bernard, as Bernard will present later on, started on the south. And when we go, if you go to the south to the Seine, you can see the strength and the height of the wave. Here is 11,000. So this is the wave, and then we go to the Velebit one. So Triban, you can see here 3-4 meters per second and up to 12,000. And when you're flying this wave, it's a strong one. You have to pick up the speed, otherwise you cannot fly in this flight level 150 to 200 because it's so strong that you have to speed up to VNA. And if you go more to the south, to that region I presented you before, so it's here is Split, later on Makarska, here is this Bosnian part, and Livno. You can see it's even stronger, and it's strong from, let's say, 1,500 up to 11. So really nice wave. And it's not just the height and the strength, it's also the lengthness that is quite nice, and it's allowing to do these long flights. So here is the prognosis. 6.5, but when you are flying this wave, it was around 5.5, really strong wave. Okay, so what are the little bit of the specifics, and what is the shape of this wave? So here I pointed Postojna airfield, and the two waves. So this is the northern part. We are looking at the east. This is the east direction. So we are looking at the Ajduščina starting point, and we are looking at the, let's say, Ilirska Bistrica starting point, maybe 15 kilometers or to 20 kilometers from Postojna airfield. And this is the amazingness we have. So here is the Postojna. The airfield is at the starting point. You saw the vertical profile and no wind on the ground, so easy takeoff. And then the wave, this one, and then Bosnia up to Montenegro. This is really something important. With the height, the wave is more and more moving to the wind. So another profiles of these waves, and unfortunately, SkySight, you have to change the model or the region. So I also took from the south. Here is the Makarska split is here, and then you can see Montenegro, and the waving just continues to the south. So the possibilities, here is Nikšić. So the possibilities are really amazing. So Bernard and Luca did this, let's say, twice the leg, but I think the out and return flights could be quite amazing. And this is the picture of this of this wave, and you can see that it's really nicely visible, the rotorless clouds. So it's not so hard to fly it, even though there are no lenticular clouds. It was quite dry at the upper levels. I think both flights of the Lucas and Bernard was a little bit more drier, but nevertheless, there were a lot of markings, and
Sandy from
yes.
The picture we are looking at now shows the heading of the glider quite a lot to the left, but I guess you are following the leading edge of the rotors, isn't it?
Yes, this was
that's your crab angle, because you had more than 100 kilometers per hour. You had about 130 kilometers per hour wind, which is 70 knots.
Yes,
correct?
yeah,
Okay.
that is correct, and also that I presented it on that comparison of the flights with our arrows.
Already, I want to use this small interruption to tell you that the evening is a big success. We have 149 participants, some of them from other continents. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. And this is another picture. It's from Knin, when Ajduščina just tried this wave, and this was the continuation of Luca and Bernard. So we turned back here, but Luca and Bernard went on this wave to the south, and you can see you have quite nice waving, first, secondary, tertiary. Here is the Makarska. So, but this is the most stronger. From Knin to the south, this is the most strongest wave. Okay, a little bit about soaring tips. So the first tip is start early. Me and Boštjan prepared the glider in the morning, and this was a mistake. We start at I don't know, at 9. We threw away 2 hours of flight, I think. And Bernard and Luca did something better. And we helped rigging the glider the day before. So this is really important to start early. So this is something also really important to check the sounding. So this is in Slovenian, it's vertikalna sondaža. Here at this page, I put the link previously. And sometimes you are a little bit earlier than this sounding presentation. And what I'm looking at, and it's not just from Ljubljana, you have also from Zadar, you have this radio sounding info, and you have all the sites, and you can check in real time the sounding. These are the sounding balloons that are released every morning, on some sites even more frequently during the day. And you can observe the wind direction and you can observe the temperature. So this is something to maybe nice to have and nice to know. So the really important part of the wave is the temperature profile, and what we are observing, that we have let's say the fog. So the fog is telling us that there is inversion condition, and the fog, this is I think this was starting of Ljubljana Valley. So and this is from Ajdovščina picture. And then this is when we return back. This is Snežnik. It's a little bit south of the Postojna, and you can see the Ljubljana Valley also at the end of the day, and the whole day it was quite strong and nice inversion in mainland. And this is something important, and it's telling you that there are conditions. There is not fog fading, because if it's fading, there's a lot of solar radiation and could be hitting the ground and disrupting the wave conditions. So this is something that we are observing during the fly, especially. Sorry.
Just let me interrupt you as 1 second. Occasionally, when you show a slide which includes a URL link for meteo information or anything else, usually I visit that page and I copy the URL address in the chat line. So if anybody wants to check the chat line, you will find the links published on the screen. Thank you. Oh. Thank you, Sandy. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not so used to use this, but yeah,
no,
during presentation,
you are doing very well, and
okay.
I try to add something for our participants.
Yeah, and what is really nice, it's also the cover. And if there are a lot of cloud cover in the mainlands, it's the same as with the fog. You know, there is not so much solar radiation. There are conditions for the inversion lasting all the day, and this is also something really important to observe. Here you can see the instrument and the sky side, but Bernard will present you a little bit. So yeah, the tip 5. If you check in the morning that the wind is the same as prognosed, and also the inversion is the same, I can tell you that you can rely on SkySight. It's really precise. It's a mathematical model, and it's an amazing work from Matthew and his team. You can see also the transitions in green, and the IGC file is marked red here with rising. And I wanted to present you how precise the SkySight is here. So this is a flight from me and Boštjan. This is when we turn back. Remember the photo before?
But the question is why you turn back in this point? Because it looks like is the best way to go south.
Yes, Alberto. It was because we have some really important things to do in the late afternoon. So we have some family business to do. But nevertheless, it was the first explorational flight. We were quite cautious. We were flying high. When you are flying high, the speed of the wind is so high that it lowers your ground speed. So this is a little bit of a balance and transitioning. If you want to be really quick and fast, you must not go too high. because the wind is picking up and it's taking away your ground speed. But in this flight was just the first exploration one, and we were just enjoying the nice views. And what was really important, because of the strength of the wind, the length wave was quite wider, and that's why we have more. It was the flight more above the sea, so it was really above the sea. And also the pictures you can see are stunning, because we have quite nice views on the Croatian islands. Tip 6, even though it was dry, there was a lot of markings, a lot of rotor clouds, and that's why how you proceed here. You look at the sky side, you see the rotorless clouds, you try it, and it's working. You just go on, because it's so beautifully marked. What's also important, tip 7, the transitions. To the transitions, when you have, don't look just of the rising air. You have to be careful not to transition through sinking air. This was just to try it out, because we were really high here. But this is something to avoid. It's better to continue on the wave and then to transition through not so much sinking air.
Sandy, what's
Yes.
the actual distance between the wave bar and the red cross you were showing? A few kilometers, maybe?
This distance?
The real distance of between the wave bar and the cross, the red cross. It's just a few kilometers, I guess.
It's 1 to 2 kilometers max.
Only, yeah.
Yes.
So big sink, just a couple of kilometers.
Yes.
The other question I have is what's your maximum allowed altitude? I've seen your flight. You rarely went above 6,000 meters. That's flight level 195, I guess.
Yes, but this part will be most in detail presented by Bernard. Maybe we will jump to this question later on.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, because of the strong wind, you can see the flying path here above the sea, and this was really nice. But nevertheless, even though it was quite dry, you can see the markings. You can see here, it's small, but it's enough to give you the confidence that sky side is correct, the wave is strong, you are in 4.5 meter per second climb. So it's nice. Okay, so I think this part was all from my side. From here on, Jean-Marie and Bernard will take over. I propose that we open some discussions and maybe answer some questions.
Sandy, somebody was asking about the season. I mean, we've seen that you took off with the freezing weather, but how is it in the spring and in the summer? What kind of chances to find wave in your region?
Little chances. I think the season is from October to March, early March, and then there will be hardly conditions that will be during all the day. So in winter is easy because you have the sounding and the temperature profile that within the inversion that is lasting through the day. Otherwise, I think there will be some possibilities in the morning, but not the whole day. There are some conditions on when the southwestern wind is blowing, but I doubt that there will be conditions for so long flights. It's more about the winter season. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy. Probably the Hermas is completely different during the winter when in comparison with the summer, and also probably thermals are destroying the conditions for wave. Probably.
Yeah, they are. But as I presented, but the thermal conditions on that eastern part of Velebit are nice. So I presented you the flight from Ales Maraj, and there were also some other pilots, and also from Livno going to the north and back, and quite long flights. So also the thermic conditions in the summer are quite nice in Croatia. You should check out on the OLC, and you will see the from Livno airfield and Sim airfield. There are quite nice flights.
It is a beautiful airfield, and I was flying there in 2012, I think, in the Livno Adria Cup, and I was very happy to be there. We have a participant asking if you have ever thought about crossing the Adriatic Sea tailwind and reaching Italy.
It was not me. There were some other pilots from Celia, the makers of Felix 9000. We have some conversation about that, how to cross and there are ideas also for that. Yeah.
Ah, that's great. Erasm, probably.
Erasm, yeah. I have a conversation with Erasm and these nice ideas. Yeah.
Great. Keep us posted.
We'll see.
So please go ahead. Is it time for?
Yes, for Bernard. Yeah, it's Bernard turns. Thank you.
Bernard,
and,
you're
I will
welcome.
join later.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. So let me just share the screen. It's screen 2. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Then let's start. Okay, I will first I will present sailplane equipment and preparations for those flights. So sailplane and equipment. First, it's good to fly with great airplane because it's better in strong winds. I flew on waves around 5 or 6 times, and all the time I flew with DG100 or DG300, and I made a few longer flights, for example, 400 kilometers or 300 kilometers down the coast, and also a height record of 8,000 meters. But I was always scared to do this, and I was always flying extremely high because I was scared that I won't come back, because when 140 kilometers per hour of wind is blowing directly in your nose, your glide ratio is really low, extremely low. So first, it's good to have great airplane. Here is the duo discus from Sandy and Luca, and here is Boštjan, one of our great pilots. And yeah, then it's important to have 2 independent EDS systems, or it's good to have it because it's a great redundancy. If one fails, the other one has the opportunity to fly and to land, and it's much safer. And the other tip is to have flare cannulas. So those are cannulas like this. That way you can get much more oxygen, and yeah, it's better to have them. And the other thing is transponder. It's mandatory because in Croatia you can fly only 300 meters above ground without transponder. So you have to have it. It's no other way. Another important part is clothes. At the altitudes where we fly, it's normally extremely cold. Sometimes we fly at -40, -50 degrees Celsius. -50 probably not, but -40 is normal. So you have to have as much warm clothes as it's possible, but you have to be cautious not to take too much clothes, because you still have to take out the landing gear, for example, or take out the air brakes at the landing. So and also you have to see how much oxygen you have left. So it's important to try it before the flight, to try if you fit in the glider in all those clothes. And for example, I like to dress a lot for those flights, and sometimes I dress like 10 layers, and yeah, it's like I'm an astronaut. And another important thing is to have sky boots. I haven't used them before the flight with Luca, and it wasn't a great thing to not use them, because the problem is if you have just normal boots and a lot of socks beneath them, you still have to have your blood has to run through your feet, and if it doesn't, you get extremely cold again, and it's not good. Yeah, so sky boots are great, and yeah, especially on the front seat. On the back seat, it's not such a big problem, but on the front seat, it's much better to have them because that way you are not so cold. And the next thing is food and also water. Yeah, when you fly at the high altitudes, food can be a problem because everything freezes, and it's like the chocolates are like stones, and it's not really enjoyable to eat it. But you have to eat something during the whole day. And the other thing is you have to drink water, and that might be a problem sometimes because, for example, when we flew with Luca, our water froze during the flight because of the low temperatures, and yeah, it wasn't really enjoyable to drink a water that was freezing, and we were already frozen before, so it wasn't really enjoyable. And the other thing is to use oximeter. That's because you have to know that your blood saturation is oxygen saturation in your blood is okay, so that's why you have to use oximeter. When I flew to 8,000 meters, I was checking my my oxygen saturation in the blood all the time, and I only wanted to go as high as this because I had more than 95% of oxygen saturation in the blood all the time. So I thought there was a risk, but it was manageable.
Bern, about the oxygen, I have also a video, very interesting from Jean-Marie Clément, 10 minutes video. So when you want, you can tell me, I can show you to everybody.
Oh, okay, I think the appropriate time it's now.
Okay, so
because I was speaking about it.
I will do it.
Okay, thank you.
Wait.
In the meantime, I want to ask you something technical regarding the oxygen. One of our viewers, other pilots, is pointing out that in the Federal Aviation in America requires a mask from 6,000 meters. Do you find that the cannulas are okay, even if it's higher, 7,000 meters, Bernard?
Yes, it's the cannulas are okay, and I think there might be explanation in this video. And also the problem with the mask is that you have to communicate with the air traffic controller all the time, and if you don't have a microphone in the mask, that might be a problem. So yeah, and also yeah, I wanted to use the cannulas at that height, and I know it's safe. So
can I give an additional answer?
Yes, please. I'm not an expert on this. Never
use the face mask. The requirement from FAA in the USA is purely administrative. If the face mask is wasting 50% of the oxygen which is delivered. It doesn't go into your lungs. So cannula, 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 nothing else. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm ready with the video.
Go.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to tell you in a few minutes what to do and what not to do with oxygen when flying high altitude and wave. This work has been made by me, Dr. Schaffner, and the High School of Engineering of Winterthur and the Swiss Army. So these results are in my book, Dancing with the Wind, and many other things to do. So first of all, hypoxia is not like a car running off fuel. It may damage the machine. You may get a blood clotting very easily, thrombosis, pulmonary embolism. I had
Si è fermato qualcosa.
What happens?
Alberto?
the right heart also can be damaged with a
Dimmi, Aldo.
Alberto, si era fermato il video per un po', è ripartito e adesso è fermo di nuovo.
Okay.
pulmonary vasoconstriction, hypertension, pulmonary edema with inflammatory reaction. This happens quite often. Your nerve system, brain can be damaged with a cell membrane hyperfluidization, brain swelling, nerve and brain edema. Kidneys and adrenal glands can also be damaged with arterial hypertension. I have one. Kidney diseases, APO release. Hypertension can also happen, cerebral and retinal. I had one, retinal. And last but not least, we just found that there is an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. So enjoy now and pay later? No, zero tolerance. This must be your rule, zero tolerance on hypoxia. So let's see how the EDS is working. This is a typical cycle of breath, 20 breaths per minute. That means 3 seconds from here to here. In the first half of the first second, so in this part, 500 milliseconds, the oxygen which goes into your lung go really to the alveolar and are really used by your body. All the rest is completely wasted. This part, the second part of the breath, is lost because the oxygen does not reach the alveolar, but it stays in the dead volume, the dead space in your mouth or in the tubes. In these parts, you are just expiring, so it's just completely lost. So if you look at what happens here, this is a constant flow system, so most of the oxygen is lost. If you look at the EDS, how it works, you have a small pulse at a flow of 15 liters per minute, which lasts maximum 500 milliseconds. When the EDS is on manual position, RM, it opens here and closes here. You cannot put more oxygen in your lungs, but putting more oxygen in your mouth. It's very clear. This is the maximum you can get. So remember, the EDS is working only half a millisecond maximum time. We also measured the flow of oxygen. That means the volume of oxygen which is given in time in all the positions of the EDS O2D1. It's not the last one, it's the one 5-10 years ago. But anyway, it's the same, it is the same principle. So in blue you have the end position, which is the normal position you start with, and then you increase with 5, 10, 15 and 20, and this is the RM, that means reserve manual position. As you can see, the manual position is always giving the same flow of oxygen from the ground to any altitude. But what is important to remember, to find here, is that the maximum altitude you can get is 6,000 meters. After 6,000 meters, you have no more oxygen. And you need to put the oxygen in F20 or F15 to get the maximum flow. If you don't do that, you will be here. So you will not have enough oxygen at 6,000 meters. So the position N, which is what they call normal, is to be forgotten. Just forget. Let's see now what happens in flight. We have made an experimentation with the help of the Swiss Army. We took 6 glider pilots in a PC-6 to 6,000 meters by steps of 1,000 meters. And we were adapting the settings of the ADS to maintain 90% minimum SPO2. SPO2 means peripheral saturation. This is the one you measure on your finger. It's not the one you have in your brain. Take care. Of course, we made laboratory experimentation before, but it's not sufficient because in flight you are cold, there are vibrations, you have to do some things. So we took the PC-6 and we took 6 glider pilots in different conditions, young ones, old ones, smokers, non-smoker. The curve I will show you now is the one of a male, 69, so it's not so old, non-smoker with a body mass index of 26.3, which is quite good, 1.72 meter high and 78 kilo. The measurements were made with a recording pulse oximeter that I strongly recommend that you use. I do not recommend to use the low-cost digital pulse oximeter for many reasons, but mainly first because you need to protect your finger against light. So you have this, it must be protected against cold, so you need a glove, and then you can replay your flight after the flight and see what happened. Why did I do this mistake? And then you know why. It's because of hypoxia. So this is the most interesting experimentation. As you can see, we took off at 3 o'clock, and then it took approximately 1 hour to reach 6,000 meters by steps of 1,000 meters. At each step, we were measuring the saturation. So this is the saturation. The minimum saturation we accepted was 88, but you should not accept less than 90 because you are a pilot. Here, the guinea pigs were sitting in a plane and doing nothing. If you are a pilot, you need 90 absolutely minimum. So during the first part up to 2,500 meters, you see that the saturation is decreasing. And in order to keep 88%, we had to increase the setting to F5. Then the pilot recovered the saturation, and then the saturation went down again at 4,000 meters, and then we had to increase the setting to F10. And here you can see the flow of oxygen, the duration of a pulse in milliseconds. Good. So we continue the experimentation, and the saturation is going down again. So when we are at 5,000 meters, we had to go to F20. F20 is the maximum that the ADS can give. And F20 could ensure a good saturation at 6,000 meters practically all time. You can see the saturation is 93%, 95%. We are at 6,000 meters, and then we stop the experimentation here. So first conclusion, if you are a little old, 69, you need to fly with F-20 at 6,000 meters. And after this, you lose saturation because the EDS does not give any more oxygen. Another very important point, the piping in your glider has to be made in a certain way if it is a two-seater in tandem, because the cylinder is on the back, but the length of the pipes have to be exactly the same front and back. So you must go to the middle, put a capacity in the middle, and from that capacity go to each ADS in order to have exactly the same length of pipe. If you go the easy way, is go to the back seat and then from the back seat go to the front seat. What will happen? When you brief from the back seat, the pilot in the front seat receives nothing. That's very dangerous. Anyway, you know that now. Another important point is the pressure in the cylinder. Unfortunately, the low-cost standard XCR regulator from Mountain High is a single-step pressure reducer. That means the output pressure is a function of the input pressure. As you see here, the output pressure is starting to decrease in a dangerous way after 80 bars in the cylinder. If you reach 45 bar in the cylinder, then it drops down drastically and it's dangerous. And Mountain High knows this, but didn't tell anybody. We discussed, now they agree on that, and they made a two-step pressure regulator that you have to pay a little bit more, but at least you can use up to 35 bar. So remember, when you reach 80 bars in your cylinder, come back home. You have less than 1 hour of safe operation. This is what I call degraded operation. This is prohibited, simply prohibited. So there is only one single rule against hypoxia. On the ground, before takeoff, cannula on your nose, ADS operating, a long life is not an option. Thank you for your attention, and thanks to Dr. Schaffner and the School of Winterthur.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. That was really impressive. Thank you very much.
Everything is in the book.
Information in a few minutes. Jean-Marie, one of our participants was surprised that you would recommend not using a mask against FAA official recommendations. Would you like to explain that?
I already explained that 10-15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The FAA recommendation is a recommendation for administrative reason. They never made any experiment, and the face mask is something which, like in an airline, in a commercial airline, when you have a face mask going down if you have an oxygen failure. But it is very, very dangerous because in a face mask, the dead volume is diluting the oxygen you receive. You have a pulse of maximum half a second of oxygen. This half a second of oxygen is diluted into the face mask. And then it's lost. For 50% is lost. The only exception of a face mask is when you have the A14 or an A20 professional military pilots, because it's pressurized. But
that's pressurized, that's right.
And if it's pressurized, you need an incredible quantity of oxygen that we do not have.
Of course. That's what they use in the Perlan, I think.
Perlan is using another thing. Perlan, no, Pelan is using the canopy. The cockpit is pressurized at 6,000 meters, and they use a rebriefer. They recycle. They recycle what they expire, and then they keep the oxygen. They save the oxygen like this. It's a completely different system.
Do you think we should use a special breathing technique, like long inspirations and then holding our breath for a couple of seconds more?
It's in the book. It is called the pulse. It's a how do you say? What's the name in English? It's a pursed lips breathing. So you don't need to inspire a lot because you receive half a second of oxygen. So it's useless to inspire for long time. What you get, you get. You cannot get more.
Okay, thank you.
But when you expire, you close your mouth and you increase the pressure in the lungs. The problem of oxygen is not the quantity of oxygen, it is the pressure. And this is why you cannot go above, I would say, 10 or 11,000 meters around, even if you put oxygen 100% in your lungs, because the pressure is missing. It's not the quantity, it is the pressure. So if you breathe with pursed lips, you close your mouth, you increase your pressure, yes, it works, but there is another problem. You cannot stay more than a few minutes like this because you have to talk to your friend, you have to talk to the radio, you have to eat, to drink. You cannot stay for more than a few minutes with a pursed breathing.
Thank you, Jean-Marie.
It's all is in the book.
Yeah, your book is the Bible of.
It's the Bible, yes. And it will be printed in Italian within a few months.
Exactly.
Okay. So can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Bernard, another important thing that I didn't mention, it's in the book, but I had no time to mention. The age is fundamental. You at 21, you can stay at end position at 6,000 meters.
Ah, okay, thank you.
I cannot. I am dead. At 6,000 meters in end position, I lose consciousness. So the older you are, the more oxygen. I need approximately the double of your quantity. I need the double.
Mm-hmm.
And Luca, if Luca listens to me, he should start thinking about putting more oxygen also.
Yeah, we had the oxygen at the face mask setting all the time, so we had more than enough oxygen.
Okay.
And Jean-Marie, I also give your book to Bernard to read it before our attempts.
Okay. Great. No, okay. Apply the rules, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the next thing is the instrument. It's a really important part of the preparation. Because if you have, of course, you can do flights without instruments like this, but it's much easier if you have SkySight integrated on your Helix or on your phone with, for example, with CU Navigator, because you can see where the waves are calculated. It's the most important is this thing when you are flying in blue conditions, so there are no lenticularis clouds or no rotor clouds, and it happens most of the time. I think I only once I've been on the lenticularis cloud, and I flew like 6 times during the last 2 winters. Yeah, so it's much easier to set those things in a styler. Because and then download it to your instrument, and you have to be careful not to set the clouds, also the layer of clouds overhead this, so because then you won't see vertical velocity at your altitude, and also you have to set for different times. But yeah, if you will do this, I recommend that you check the other sources, because it's more technical. So yeah, it's really useful in the flight. That's from Sandy's flight. And you see here, he came into the area with lift, and it shows him on the instrument. So preparation normally starts a few days before, when you see that there is potential option for flying in a few days, and you check the at least I do that. I check the weather a few days before, and then I start assembling a team for the flying, because to take off during the winter, you have to prepare the airfield. So the potholes on the runway, you have to clean them, and also you have to assemble a glider a day before, because in the morning it's not a good thing to do. So yeah, normally I come to the airfield one day before, and I assemble the glider, and I sleep there, and I wake up at 5 o'clock, and normally I hit the engine of the towing airplane and prepare the glider. And when there is the sun, I take off without any problems and without any rush, because if you rush, you always forget something. And of course, the important thing is to file flight plan, so the air traffic controllers will be happier if you do that on the ground, because if you do that in the air, it takes time, and you don't want this. So where is the starting place? It's here, Lima Juliet Papa Oscar, and it's in the middle of the military control zones, but most of the time those zones aren't active, and also when they are normally just from 9 to 5 o'clock, so it's not such a big problem, and you can normally coordinate with military, so it's not that big of a problem. But of course, always check NOTAMs for things like this, and also for Croatian airspace. So before, there was a question about the restrictions of the height. So in Slovenian airspace, the restrictions are new from 2020. So up to flight level 195, it's not a problem to fly there. There are no legal requirements for flying there. Just you have to be, of course, it's a controlled airspace, so you have to be in contact with air traffic control. And then, yeah, from flight level 195 to flight level 285, there are a few mandatory things to have. So the first is appropriate equipment. So you have to have oxygen system, warm clothes, and things like that. And then it's the flight plan is necessary. So if you don't file it on the ground, you have to file it during the flight with ATC, and you have to be in the continuous contact with ATC, and you have to have transponder. It's the best if you have Mode Sierra transponder, but I think also Mode Charlie is sufficient. And above flight level 285, it's prohibited to fly VFR. So yeah, in our airspace, that's the limit. But the limit in Croatia, I tried to find the restrictions there, but I didn't find any. And also, when I do the record flight of 8,000 meters, then there was no problem of flying higher. But last time when we flew with Luca, a few controllers said that the limit is 195, that legally they can't let us fly higher. So I think the limit is flight level 195, but when I flew there, probably the controllers didn't know that, so they let me fly higher to flight level 265. And yeah, when we flew with Luca, all of them knew about it, except one. 5 of them knew, but one didn't. and 5 of them told us that it's illegal to fly higher, and 1 didn't know that, probably. That's my assumption. Okay, so filing flight plan. Probably a few of you already has already done that. I do it all the time when I go flying. Also, when I do some formal flying during the spring or summer. Yeah, I fly the flight plan every time, and that's because if I go to another country, then the controllers already have my flight plan, and there are no problems between transitions to another country. And yeah, so, and you get used to it, and also the ATC gets used to taking flight plans from gliders, and it's not a problem to file it. It takes 5 minutes, so I think it's worth to do it every time. And yeah, first thing you have to tell them it's that you are flying a glider, so that they know that you don't have an engine. And if you go to a flight between multiple countries, you have to have at least 1 point in every country you intend to fly in. That's because then if you have 1 point in that country, then the air traffic controller from that country receives your flight plan, and then they have all of your information, and it's not a problem. It happened to me once that I didn't do that. That I flew from the Dolinska region to Maribor, and the straight line was through Croatia, and I thought that yeah, the Croatians will get my flight plan, but they didn't, and they didn't let me in, and I had to wait like 10 minutes to do it. So it's good thing to have at least 1 point in every country, and legally you have to do it 30 minutes before takeoff. Coordination with ATC, it's a important part, and it's really important to practice it before, because on flight like this you have to think about other things, and coordination with ATC should be you shouldn't have to think about it a lot. Yeah, and you have to contact them before entering controlled airspace, of course. And it's a good thing to request a block of altitudes. For example, if you are flying between flight level 160 and 195, you just tell that you request a block between 165 and 195. So you don't have to tell them every time you descend or every time you climb, and you just have to tell them if you get out of this block, or if you change the direction or anything like this. So, and if there is a situation that you weren't clear for, but you have to do it because of there is like an emergency, or if you have to go somewhere because you have a lot of sync and they didn't give you the clearance, just tell them, for example, continuing with heading 150 due to safety reasons or something like that, or due to weather. Just tell them so that they will know and they will coordinate you. You have a priority as a glider, so they have to let you fly. And if you are not really familiar with coordination with ATC, it's a great thing if you have something to write on. But if you get used to coordinating or communicating, then normally you are able to insert the squawk and the frequency in as they tell you. So it's not that big of a problem. So soaring cross-country potential and future flight ideas from Postumia region. So here is the flight that we've done with Luca. We didn't plan this flight, we planned just 1000. And yeah, it's from Postumia to Livno 2 times. Easy flight. And the next one is out and return. It hasn't been done yet. And it's also on the waves. It's a long flight. So we will try to make it. And the next one is, that was Sandy's idea, is that you take off from Postojna, then go to Zadar or to this region and back on the waves. And then you go to the waves to the Alps. And then you try to go to Karavanke region, to Karavanke mountains. And from Karavanke to Maribor, on the slope, flying low, and then to here to Brunico, somewhere around here, and back here. Then you try to find wave and come back to Postojna. The problem here is that not always there is a strong northern wind here when we fly on the waves. Last 2 times that we flew here, they weren't able to make good cross-country flights from Maribor or from Murska Sobota or Ptuj. So last 2 times we were flying there, this flight wasn't possible. So now I will present you the 1,300 kilometers flight we made with Luca. So yeah, here Luca's name is missing. Yeah. So first, I will show you where we flew and how we planned the flight. So we started to plan a flight at a 1,000 kilometers flight. And firstly, we wanted to start in Aidovština. I've started in Aidovština most of the times when I flew on waves, that's because when you take off from Postojna, if you go to Aidovština, here, if you don't find wave, there is a airport directly underneath you when you can land without a problem. And also here you can find waves much lower than elsewhere. That's the first reason. Second reason to go to Aidovština is because when you don't find any lift here, if there is a strong northern wind, you don't have much problems with flying back to Postojna. And yeah, but it's better to go to Ilirska Bistrica, because if you go here, you can start on a wave which is continuing to the Bosnia, or with just a few gaps between them. So if you start from Aidovština, here you have a big gap you have to cross. And also in Aidovština, you have to stay on the safe place for a time when you climb to higher altitudes, and it takes a lot of time. Normally it takes you like an hour or more, and then you get here with like 4,000 meters, and that's too low. So yeah, we decided to start here because it's faster, and we didn't need to stay on the same place. We just flew straight next to the coast, and we set the first point in here next to Liuno. Liuno is here a little bit further. Second point here where the wave normally ends. Third point here near Zadar, Abim Zadar, and the last point in Postojna. So yeah, let's go back to the presentation. Here is when we started. We started at 7:45. It was probably, we could start 20 minutes earlier, but we had to we have to prepare the instrument and other things. So yeah, but it wasn't so late start to be a problem. From Postojna airfield, here you see that the sun just has just risen. And we got a wave. We had an Aeroclub to 2,300. No, it was lower, 2,100 meters. And when we disconnected from the tow plane, we started our task, and in like 2 kilometers we found a wave which we used to go to the coast, and we just turned back one time and went back 500 meters and then further, so we didn't lose any time there with climbing. And here you see here is the start of here are the on the coast of Bim Rijeka. So here we came to Velebit. You can see that there was quite a lot of overcast on the land. And then we flew towards Livno. So when we came here, it looks like we were on the moon, and it's really a beautiful terrain here with snow, and snow was to the coast, and it was really beautiful. There wasn't a lot of wind, so we could fly fast, and a lot of times we had to fly with maximum speeds just to stay on under flight level 195 that we were cleared to fly at. Yeah, so here when we came to Zadar, we had to cross a small gap, which Sandy was showing before, and then we flew towards Dinara, where we got waves again. Here is after our first turn point. We were here in approximately 2.5 hours, and as we turned back we got some great waves again on Dinara, and we flew back to Slovenia. So I will show you how this flight looked like. Here we took off from Postojna. Somewhere here we disconnected, we started our task, and then we flew to the coast, and we were climbing all the time. We had climb rates between 1 meter, 2 meters, and later on we had climb rates of 3 meters, 4 meters constantly. So we could fly with maximum speed and still gaining altitude. Okay, so here we are already on 5,000 meters. It was starting to get cold, but not too cold to fly it there. So here is Velebit. We flew next to Velebit.
Bernard, what was the average wind speed?
It was between 80 and 90 kilometers per hour. It wasn't a strong wind. So we could fly fast. So here is the third turn point. So we had to fly further down now. So here is the first gap where you have to fly from one wave to another wave, because here the ridges are not perpendicular with the wind, so there are no waves, almost no waves. So we had to cross this gap, and then we came back to Dinara. Here the Dinara starts. Here is Sin, and here on the other side here is Sin, and on the other side is Livno. We flew along the Dinara, still on altitudes of between 5,500 and 6,000 meters. And the next problem was that we put the turn point in the region with no waves, so we had to glide there and go back, and we lost some altitudes, and our average speed was lower. It wasn't 160, but it was 150. So we were slower. And here was the next gap we had to cross. And here we were at 3,800 meters, which was quite low for this kind of flying. Yeah, but the gap was quite big and I didn't find the perfect line for that. And also the sky side prediction started to deviate from the actual conditions. So we couldn't rely on SkySat anymore, and we had to rely on our experience and our flight path before, from where we were coming from that direction. Okay, so let's continue with the presentation. So here the Dinara ends, and then here is Bushko Lake, and here to the left is Livno. We had our turn point around somewhere around here, so you can imagine, or no, so somewhere around here. So here the wave ended and we had to glide there and then glide back, and we lost quite some altitude. And then we were on our way back. Here, somewhere here is Zadar. Here is Knin, and there is a lake. And there was the gap here where we are currently at. The wave ended and we had to fly to the valley bit to get another wave. So we were looking at the lenticularis clouds. They were from the secondary wave, so we weren't able to get to them. And this is the Pag Island, I think. We are abim Zadar here. And there is another beautiful photo of Kirk Island. You can see that there is an airport here. It's a commercial airport, and I think it's possible to land there, but you could have problems with big crosswinds when you're flying in this kind of wind. So then we turned our second turn point, and we were heading back towards our third turn point. We were on time on our task, or even a bit earlier, so we weren't concerned with that, and the waves were great, even though the prediction for the later on wasn't so good, but it turned out that it was better than predicted, so we had some luck. And then here, after passing the Kirk Island, we saw this lenticularis cloud. At first, it looked like it's far away, but then we came closer and closer, and we found out that it's from primary wave. So I tried it out, and here we are on this lenticularis wave. It was spectacular, but it was the only lenticularis cloud we were on in the whole day. Otherwise, it was blue. And here with this gap I was talking about earlier, we went from Zadar to Dinara with the same path as before, but the wind has changed, and that's why we came there lower. And also Dinara didn't work as well as we thought it would. So we wanted to get some waves here, great waves, but we didn't get them. So we went further and further just to find them. And after we saw that there are no waves as before, we turned back and used some not as strong waves to climb a bit higher. So when we came to Dinara, we were at 3,800 meters, and when we crossed back to Zadar, we were a bit higher, I think about 5,000 meters. So here is, let me show you the where we were flying. Here we came back to wave again. As you see here, we were climbing with 3.5 meters. And now we are at 6,000 meters again on Velebit, flying with 210 kilometers per hour most of the time, because it's the maximum airspeed you are allowed to fly at this altitude. Okay, so here is the second third point. And now we are headed towards Luno again. Here we are on the same wave again, but we didn't quite find the right direction. So we lost some altitude, but here on Velebit, we got back the altitude we wanted. And we are flying towards our third turn point. So somewhere here we started to talk about how we will continue the flight. We both agreed that the 1,000 kilometers flight is of course possible, and we will be in Postojna too early. So we decided to go to Luno again, even though the prediction for the wind was much worse than before. But yeah, we had a great airplane, and we had a possibility, and we wanted to have some adrenaline, not just the sure way. So we went there again. So here is the gap again. We are back to 3,700 meters. For us, it was quite low. And here we turned once because we wanted to gain altitude, but we are not much higher. Here we were much lower, but it was also nice because the temperatures were quite nicer. The temperatures here were just around -25, so it wasn't cold anymore. And we turned back when we saw that we won't find great waves again. Also here we saw that the wind in the lower sections has changed its direction completely. So there were no good conditions for wave flying. So we crossed this gap again. We managed to find a better way, so we didn't lose as much altitude. And here we were on 4,500 meters again, and flying back on Velebit, along the Velebit. Back on 5,800 meters, and here the controllers has changed. So there was a nice controller which probably didn't know the legal requirement to stay under flight level 195, and she let us fly higher. So there we were at 6,300 meters. Here we went to finish our task. We finished task with around 120 kilometers per hour because we did 200 kilometers more. When we deviated from task, we had 165 kilometers per hour. So we were quite fast. And here we are on final glide to land in Postojna. And here we were on 1,300 kilometer mark. So back to presentation. We decided that we are too fast in Postojna, so we went further on to Gorica just to have some more kilometers, and because there was still a daylight, And we even didn't use the whole day. We could land like 15 minutes later on, but yeah, it was enough for us. So here is Molfancone, and here on the left is Thirst, and that's Italian Sea. Here on the right is Gorica. And that's on final glide. You can see some lenticularis clouds forming there again. And here is Nanos. And sunset from the glider. It was quite nice, but cold. And I really had to pee. So yeah, that's after landing. We got a nice bottle from our pilot, Bostian. He came to airport to see the landing. And now here we have the video. So is it possible, Alberto, to watch the video? Or someone with great Wi-Fi?
Sì, sì, è possibile. Devi, yes, it's possible. When you share the video, you have to flag the two checkbox at the bottom of the bottom. So that means for the audio and for the video. If you click share video, then you can see two checkbox.
Oh, so where
when you choose the video?
Where do I share the video?
Yeah, when you push the green button, share video, share screen.
Yeah.
Okay. You can see when you choose the document, you can see two flag box.
Yeah, share sound and optimize for
exactly. And the second suggestion I give you is to make the windows smaller.
Aha.
Because
okay.
Otherwise it's too much information, too heavy. Okay.
Okay. So can you see the video right now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's play it.
Well, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's a Sandy put a great video together. Thank you again, Sandy, for doing this. So
somebody said goosebumps.
Yeah, I also have them.
Great.
And here I would like to thank Luca for letting me fly with him with his amazing airplane. And yeah, and thank you for your time. And I think it's time for the questions.
Well, first question I've seen was, did you fly with any water ballast or maybe trim ballast in the tail?
Oh no, we didn't have any water ballast, as the water would freeze at those temperatures.
Sure.
So we couldn't do it, but
No
it would
ballast.
be really helpful.
Good. I see many congratulations on the chat line, and it was a great presentation for everyone, I see.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you very much, Bernard and Sandy. We have been answering some questions and answered during your presentation. So there were some.
Somebody asked, Aldo, somebody asked about technically, did you have a hard time going to the bathroom? Did you bring, what kind of system did you use to do number one, to do PP?
Yeah, Luca had that figured out, but I didn't, because I didn't need it until just the last half an hour. So I didn't.
Yeah, you are the youngest, you see. You don't need oxygen, you don't need a bag. You're lucky.
Yeah, but I think you use the condoms to do it normally. Yeah, but it's hard to do it because you have so much clothes on.
Yeah, that's makes everything very complicated. I heard you say you use 10 layers of fabric.
Yeah, two jackets for skiing and a lot of other layers beneath. So I was really yeah, I had a lot of clothes.
One longer question by Yannick is, how was your strategy for a possible outlanding or fields in the wild area with the strong Bora in the Velebit channel? And then also, well, I think you already answered about the collaboration with the Croatian air traffic controllers. Was it easy to get the clearances?
Yeah, we got all the clearances we wanted, and also on this flight, they let us stay on the same frequency for the most of the time. We changed like 10 or 12 frequencies during the whole flying, which is just amazing. They collaborated the whole time, and because on the previous flights I had to change like 15-20 frequencies in shorter period of time. So here they were amazing and also knew about the flying and were really helpful. So
very well. And about the possible outlanding, I think you were only considering the international airports on the islands and on the coast. Yeah,
so here we were considering flying to Grobnik, and also when I was flying with one-seater before with the DG100, I always just relied on Grobnik and Zadar and maybe Kirk, but that was just a last resort. Here Grobnik and Zadar were primary, and here Livno and Sin. Those were the main landing possibilities. Yeah, when I flew with one-seater, I flew to here, and I was at 8,000 meters, so I could reach the Grobnik, and it was just enough altitude. So you really have to be careful here.
Bernard, I think you should mention also Loshin.
Yeah, it's here Mali Loshin. Here is airport international. It's it's a great runway. you have to glide 45 kilometers from here, from the coast. But yes, Andy said that you shouldn't be relying on it because there are quite strong crosswinds. But I think for the last resort, it's also okay. Yeah, I think those are the.
I've seen
maybe
it's an island quite far into the sea. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe we should stress out two different maybe situations we have. If we go for an outlanding, let's say we have some technical problem with oxygen and so on, and we are confident on the wave, I think the better choice would be to go to mainland. So seeing, and we have picked some outlandings that we will work on it. Try to go there and see how this it's landable in these conditions. And there are a lot of candidates on the mainland. And the other let's say situation is that you get low at the transitions. So I mentioned before the main international airfields. I think Lošinj is a possibility when you, let's say, you get washed out from the wave. So you get with the wind. It's far away, but you have to know that you are going with the wind, which is quite strong. But it's a last resort landing. You have to know that Bora wind has quite strong gusts. It depends also from the situation. Luca and Bernard didn't have so much strong wind, so I think it would be easily landable. It was quite different situation for me and Boštjan. I think it will be quite challenging landing. So depends on the situation you have, and the decision could and have to be chosen wisely.
I see there are 3 more questions. Quite interesting. Do you use electric heated clothing or boots, maybe?
Oh, no, we didn't use them. I tried to use those kind of clothes before, but the problem is that the batteries die so fast that it's not really a good choice because of the cold. But if you had bigger batteries, I think it would be okay. But for me, I think
in this glider you have a big battery.
Very big.
Yes, I think Luca should answer this question.
Yeah, the other question was about the FES batteries. Did they fare well given the very low temperatures?
So this was the first flight where battery temperature dropped below 0. So on all other flights, you know, in the Alps, flying 10 hours on the north wind, I saw minimum temperature like 4 degrees. But during this flight, it dropped down to -4. So
do you think
really
they get
cool.
Luca, do you think they get damaged? Do you risk to have permanent damage for this kind of batteries if it goes close to 0?
No. We could use it down to -10 degrees. So of course, at such low temperature, we could not get maximum power. So basically, we would use it, let's say, for shallow climb, or ideally just for level flight when it would be required. But then after usage, after, let's say, 10-15 minutes of level flight, the temperature would slowly rising up. And so, but in such cold conditions, we could hardly expect you know, 2 meters climb or something. So it's impossible. So you can climb maximum maybe with 1 meter per second. So with such cold temperature of batteries. But anyway, we put them in the glider in the morning. So they were during the night before, the batteries were recharged at room temperature, so they were warm. But anyway, with such low temperature, I think this indication of temperature, which is in shape-head gliders analog indication, was most of the time showing -30. So it was really extremely cold. So
I have a question for Sandy and Bernard. The question is referring to something you said to our previous, when we were doing a trial presentation. You mentioned something very interesting, that you noticed that flying at 6,000 meters was really not necessary, and you calculated a 4,500 would be a faster average, would give you a better result in the end. Can you confirm that you were trying to be precautious to fly too high, and that instead if you fly a little bit lower you get a better speed at the end?
Yes, I can elaborate that. When myself and Boštjan did the flight, it was we were quite risk averse, and we were flying really high. And when I ended the flight, Andrei Kolar, you know him because of Naviter and CU and Audi, called me and said, Sandy, you could easily do 1,200 kilometers, but you were flying too high and you did the transitions too high. And that's why, because if you are too high, the wind is speeding up, and you have at the higher level, you have quite strong wind. And if you have quite strong wind, the ground speed is it's lower. This is the way flying, cross-country wet flying is a balance of the height and speed. If you are lower, you have more ground speed. If you're higher, you have less ground speed. And because of the first, but there were quite different conditions if you compare the two flights, and the most pronounced difference was that me and Boštjan had 140 kilometers to 150 kilometers per hour wind speed at that levels. So, and Luca and Bernard had half of that. And yes, you have to optimize your transitions. You have to optimize your speed with the height. So if you're high, you will go slower.
Yeah, but I think when me and Luca flew, it was better option to fly higher because the wind speed wasn't so great. So I think we had optimal heights.
I would agree. Yeah.
Any more questions? I see somebody's writing something.
Any issues with the glider paint deteriorating under these extremely low temperatures?
So this glider is painted with polyurethane paint, so which is not so critical. So far we did not saw any any signs of this flying on the glider, so I don't think it's a problem.
And also on older gliders, we didn't see any major cracks or anything like this, and we've done quite a few flights with them with long duration and low temperatures.
There's a technical question by Bruce Duncan. He says the best LD, the glide ratio of the glider, is at the same indicated airspeed.
Yeah,
different altitudes, and so as at higher altitude you have more wind, which is better? Is it a complicated calculation? Which is more convenient for?
Actually, the LD is the same at the same indicated airspeed. It's not higher. Yeah,
The same indicated airspeed, which is a higher true airspeed if you are high, but then you have more wind and probably you get slower for that. So how do you try to make the decision between flying lower or higher, or is it just that you accept the situation you're in?
Also, the thing is, if you are higher, you are more confident to fly faster, because if you are low and you fly too fast, you are quickly on the ground. You have more margin, and that's why also it's good to fly a bit higher than the optimum, because you don't have to slow down as much when you have to cross a gap or something like that.
But the most critical part, from my perspective, was ending the wave from, let's say, velvet, and then transitioning to clean into the wind. And if you're too high, you have quite an angle to the wind, and your ground speed is like 30 to 40 kilometers per hour if you are too high. And that's the problem. You are losing a lot of time there. So for the transitioning, it's really about the balance, how to transition and on which level with, and you have to balance safety margin. And this is something that we should tackle. This issue is really important for long cross-country flying. Maybe it was more pronounced for my flight with Boštjan, because the wind was so high. And it's less pronounced, let's say, challenge to make the optimal flight for lower winds. But for sure, we were quite, it was let's say, an agony going from Velebit to Knin, doing the transition and looking at the ground speed. It was, like I said, really low. So that's why it's better to go with lower altitude, not exaggerating, because we were exaggerating because we were risk averse, and we were just enjoying the flight. We were not going for the long cross country flight. We were more keen to explore the region and the possibilities. But yeah, this is something that we should, let's say, a little bit analyze it and elaborate it for the future flights.
Sandy, Jean-Marie.
Yes, Jean.
You should read again the chapter 9 of my book, because the solutions of these equations are in chapter 9.
I know that, Jean, but I will buy your book, because
you must read.
Bernard is reading too long. It takes too long.
You want not to buy it? Take from Luca.
Yeah. No, I will buy it for sure.
No, but the solutions are there, and we know
I know
what to do. But it depends very much on the decreasing of the VNE with the altitude of your glider.
That's also important, yeah.
Yes, and I don't know the Duo, but I know the Nimbus very well. I flew 3,000 hours in wave. And,
yeah, on Duo, I think at 6,000 meters we were limited to 250 kilometers indicated.
But at which altitude does the speed is starting to decrease?
It's about 3,000, 4,000. You already need to take care about. Mm-hmm. So
yes, it was the same for me.
It would be really nice if we could fly faster there, of course, but it's technical limitations. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was looking at the table at the side of the glider.
You should take my Nimbus is limited to at 260, indicated at 6,000 meters.
Yes, we would gladly take it.
They should take it.
Sure.
For sale.
I'm selling it because I'm retiring. I stopped flying because for some reasons. But this is the real glider for this kind of flight.
Yeah.
Yes,
dear friends, I'm sorry, but it's now quite late.
Okay.
20 minutes past 11, and some participants have left us, only about 20 of them. So it was a big success. I can see greetings from California, greetings from other states in the USA, greetings from all over Europe. I'm amazed. It was a fantastic evening. Thank you very much. I think Pierre Fax, as the organizer of the meeting with Volo Nord-Est, Charlie Victor November Echo wants to say something. Thank you very much. Greetings from Vienna. It was great. Thank you very much. Pierre.
Yes, Aldo, thank you. First of all, I'm very impressed about this presentation, and I want to thank our three friends, for the professional presentation of this webinar and to answer to all these questions. I also, of course, I want to thank Jean-Marie for his speech about oxygen management. We will treasure it. I just want to remind everybody the book of Jean-Marie, Dance with the Wind, which is very interesting. And soon, as Jean-Marie says, soon will be available also in Italian, thanks to some willing pilots and the kindness of Jean-Marie, of course. Thank, of course, to Aldo for having a moderation of this evening in a great manner. Also thank to ACAO and also to Alberto Sironi for contribute as usual to the realization of this event. And thank
the pleasure
to all my friends who work with me in the shadow. And I just want to leave you with a video to remember the evening of 21 of February at 21 o'clock Italian time, same link, with the solar glider and Eric. That's it. For me is everything. I thank again our friend and all of you to stay with us so a long time. I share the video and I say everybody to the next.
Grazie Pier, è stato un
Grazie,
piacere.
Pier.
Grazie Andrea, grazie Alberto Sironi.
Thank you. Ciao.
Grazie, congratulazioni.
Ciao, c'è un video. Ciao.
Bye.
Grazie. Il video conclusivo, the closing video. That's Eric Raymond, the Sunseeker, me and Pierre Fax. We have both been flying over this fantastic machine. It was a privilege. February the 21st, solar flight experience with Eric Raymond. Good night, everyone.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Bernard. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Thank you for hosting. Bye.
Ciao, 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 ciao. Congratulations.